to the, all right, and will open this up. Hi, everyone. Good evening. We're going to give it just a minute or two to let everyone interested join in from the waiting room. We're so excited to have you here this evening. We're going to give it just until about 7:03 or so, just to account for anyone else who's joining in tonight. Right, perfect. Well, hi everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this evening to learn a little bit more about Stony Brook and specifically our School of Communication and Journalism. My name is Megan Schuster and I'm an Associate Director of Undergraduate Admissions at Stony Brook University. And I'm joined here by a couple of members of our School of Communication and Journalism team. We have Eric Brodsky, Recruitment and Outreach Specialist, and Madeline Rosenberg, Senior Career Coach for School of Communication and Journalism. I'll pass things off to Eric, but know that you do have access to the question and answer section should you wish to ask anything throughout this presentation.
All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to all of our students and guests as well. As Megan mentioned, my name is Eric Brodsky, and I am the Recruitment and Outreach Specialist for the School of Communication and Journalism. Been in the higher ed field for around 20 years or so, and I'm working on the academic side of the house. I do have prior experience within the admissions world as well. So I totally understand where everybody's coming from tonight, and we are here, Madeline and myself are here to give you an overview of the School of Communication and Journalism. We're coming from two different sides of things, whereas I'm going to give you a brief overview of the school itself, and then Madeline's going to jump into some of the career section and how she pairs extremely well with what we do and what we can offer to our students. So before we get into the nuts and bolts of the slides, I just want to give you a brief history of the School of Communication and Journalism itself. It was started back in 2006 as the School of Journalism, with journalism as its only major. And then in 2019, we became the School of Communication and Journalism with the majors that I'm going to show you in just a second. And that's where we have sort of launched from. So we're one of the relatively newer schools at Stony Brook, but we are a fantastic mix of scholarly faculty and students who are just driven to succeed, which is great for students who are working with us.
Eric, it looks like you just muted.
Got it. Sorry about that. Thank you for that little note. So I'm just going to show you what our majors are in general. So we do have three majors here within the School of Communication and Journalism, and they do go from, if you go from bottom up, that's actually how they were founded within the school. So we started with the degree in journalism. We added mass communication in 2019, and just this past fall, we enrolled our first class in communication. So just to give you a quick overview of actually what those look like and what they mean to a student who might be looking to get into one of these majors. They sound similar, but they do have their little nuances and differences. So the BA in communication is really for students who want to study that creation, expression, analysis of messages, personal, professional, and public settings. Think of that as more so like interpersonal communication, healthcare setting, communication they do on a daily basis. The BA in mass communication is those who want to study digital media communication and the messaging. There is a big focus right there on what you do on the digital side, the study of the message, how it's received, how it's sent, and things like that. And then you have the BA in journalism. That is really going to be what you traditionally think of as your journalists, the ones you see out there, boots on the ground, news reporters, the ones you see, newspapers, TV, things like that. So within those three majors is what you have as a whole of SOCJ, as we respectfully call ourselves. Like I said, we did just add the BA in communication. It is extremely popular for students who want to get into that communication field and sort of want to diversify what they can do upon graduation. And Madeline can touch on some of the opportunities within each of these, as she also works within our majors for students as they go through internships and job placement after that. So what makes SOCJ special? There are so many things that make us special. One of the great things about SOCJ is that we know our students by name and by story. Being one of the smaller schools, we do have the personalized instruction and the specialized internship opportunities. Like I said, Madeline's going to touch on some of those great opportunities with you specifically. What you see here is highly customizable degrees, and we really like to focus on this because there are a few big components that you see right there on those three bullets. We have diverse electives where we have students who can take classes in AI. We have climate change. We have sports reporting. You're going to find yourself having access to a lot of different nuanced things you can do with these degrees. Couple quick highlights. We do have the 4+1 MBA with journalism and with mass communication. 4+1, just going back to my admissions days, is when you can complete your degree in journalism and mass communication and then complete an MBA in one additional year versus the traditional 2 years it would take you if you did it separately. So we do have the opportunity for you to complete that in journalism and or mass communication. And we do have dual major options. What's so great about SOCJ is that it pairs so well with really any other major. All of our majors, honestly, are what you'll find is, when you think of some of the more intense majors like a biology or an engineering or something like that, where you think of your traditionally like nose in the books kind of thing. SHCJ is a lot of project-based things. Our students are doing group work. They're out on campus doing certain things. So your final exams, things like that, you're going to be doing a lot of hands-on things. So it really pairs well as a dual major. I do stress that to a lot of students that I'm going to interact with and meet with, that if you're looking to pick up a double major minor, you do have a lot of options within SOCJ for that. Right there at the bottom, dedicated SOCJ career coach. That's Madeline, who's here with us tonight, and she'll go into some of her pieces in just a couple minutes. We do like to highlight some of the awards that our students do receive. We do have the Murrow Award and the Hearst Awards. We do have students that are applying for these on a yearly basis, and they are recognized throughout the school once they do get them. Again, this is something that faculty can make recommendations for our students. It's very prestigious. It's a great resume builder. Students will submit some of their stories that they work on in the classroom, and then that's how they're recognized across. It's actually a national award, so students are recognized really across the country for it. Where do our graduates go? So this is just a small spattering of where some of our graduates go, and this is really an expansive list that's growing by internships and growing by career placements. And this is just really just a small sample size of where our students are going upon graduation. And I will tag on that this also is where students are interning as well. Hands-on student-centered learning. I did mention this, and what you're going to see here is two of our students from last year who are behind the camera. They're actually recording their Roth Regatta, which is an annual tradition at Stony Brook where students will get into build some cardboard boats and go across the pond, and we do a live broadcast of that. It's usually the last Friday in April every year. It goes out live on YouTube, and we have students that are doing a 4 to 5 hour live broadcast, getting again that hands-on experience. The QR code you see right there is a Stony Brook Media Showcase, and what that is a collection of works that our students are they submit to a faculty member who then puts them on the website. I encourage you all to just to take a look through it. There's some fantastic pieces of work there in story form, in digital form, in just a lot of different mediums that you can really get a sense of what our students are actually working on versus just me telling you that they're doing great things. This is a tangible piece that you can actually go through their work, see what they're working on, get a sense of what they're doing in the classroom. So I definitely encourage you to take a look through the media showcase, see what it's all about, see what they're doing in the classroom. And of course, visit us anytime, anywhere. We know obviously everybody can't come out to campus, but scan the QR code to take a virtual tour of our facilities. What you see there is a control room. We do have a TV studio on campus where our students are doing a halftime report, which is a 3 credit class where students are getting behind the camera, writing news stories, using the teleprompter, doing weather forecasts, things like that. We also do have a newsroom on campus, and that's where students are actually writing the stories using the latest software from Adobe and getting the hands-on experience like I talked about. SOCJ, like I mentioned at the onset, is really just one of those special places to work and to be a student. Our students are driven and to succeed and to go out and get those internships and really be the best that they can be. And having almost 20 years in the field, I've never worked with better faculty or with better students and staff than I have at SOCJ, and that just speaks volumes to the care that the professors will put in for their individual students, getting to know you on that individual basis, getting to know what your story is and how you want to succeed. And that's how we all are better as individuals and honestly as a school. And just to chime in, one of the other little pieces that our dean is very forward thinking as well. She has a great presence and she has a really good grasp of the field, and really where we're going as a school and our trajectory as to our growth. So it's a really exciting time to be part of the School of Communication and Journalism, and we're definitely here to answer those questions as we go through it that you might have. I'm going to pass it off to Madeline to give you a sense of the unique partnership, and we're really very lucky to have a partnership with Madeline directly in the Career Center to be there for our students, to work with internships, resume writing, and she'll go through what she has. But it's such a great partnership for you to know that you have that as you're going through school, and you don't sort of have to worry about it as you're going through. Because I remember when I was in school, it's what's going to be next for me. Whereas now is that it's built in for you that we have that career coach available to you as a student, and the opportunities that she can give to you as a student as you go through just makes us that much stronger. So I'll pass it off to Madeline.
Hi everyone, it's so nice to meet you. So the Career Center, I'm going to tell you a little bit about our mission, our services, and some ways that we really get to pair with the School of Communication and Journalism. As Eric said, we like to refer to it as SOCJ. I'm sure you'll learn that there are always a lot of acronyms, especially when you come to college, so it'll be awesome getting to work with all of you. So our mission is to essentially educate, prepare, and connect. So educating and helping students learn more about themselves, different career paths, their interests, values, how those can translate, preparing you for those, what we consider experiential education opportunities. So really getting to put what you're learning into practice. Oftentimes those are considered jobs and internships, but also site visits, different academic projects, leadership experiences. A lot of that prep work comes through our one-on-one appointments that I'll get into momentarily, and connecting you to different employers, whether that is site visit or our job and internship fairs, jobs, internships, mentorship, and of course, alumni. So career coaching, our one-on-one appointments is the way that I get to work most closely with my SOCJ students. Like Eric mentioned, something that I think is really special about the School of Common Journalism is the fact that it is a nice, tight-knit community. I've had the pleasure of building really, really strong relationships with so many of our students and recent graduates. So it's been a pleasure getting to work with all of them, and I hope to get to work with all of you as well. So our one-on-one appointments, our main three kind of consist of resume and cover letter
You're
review.
good. I'm muted.
Oh, oh, you're not muted, Eric, by the way.
I am now.
So those appointments are either booked on a platform called Handshake, which is what we use, or drop-in appointments, which I'll get into momentarily. So resume and cover letter, right? I'm sure all of you had to create a version of a resume when you were completing your college applications. Same thing that we need to do when applying for jobs, internships, and other opportunities. We have mock interview practice where you can really learn the different skills, strategies, and go over what to do when you have that tailored interview coming up. Career community coaching, that's really where I get to play in the best when it comes to my SOCJ students. That comes with tailored industry-specific guidance, resources, events, finding out about different opportunities, and honestly, there's so much that's involved in everything. We also have appointments and staff members that are for internships and campus student employment. We also offer peer-to-peer coaching, so if you're interested in meeting with one of your college peers. We have volunteer positions and service projects, if that's something that you definitely want to continue doing here when you get to college. Drop-in hours. So every week I offer drop-in appointments for the School of Communication and Journalism students from 1 to 5, so pretty awesome. They get to just come on and swing by anytime. And alumni career coaching. Obviously, that's not something that you need anytime soon, but something that's really special about Stony Brook is the fact that you guys have lifelong career services. So something that I wish that I had in college wasn't a thing, but it is now. So you can work with us at any and every point during your career exploration, your career development, whether you are in college and of course after you graduate as well. So with the Career Center, we offer our drop-in appointments Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. So you can come on by at any time. And that's in what we call our Career Center studio. It's a pretty cool area. Obviously, I'm a little bit biased, but people really enjoy it. We also have a photo booth and interview rooms. So for those of you who have a LinkedIn account, we want to make sure that you guys are presenting yourselves as young professionals. That photo booth, you can come on, stop by anytime that we are open to utilize that. As School of Communication and Journalism prospective students, like Eric mentioned, there is so much hands-on learning. And something that you'll be able to do in your classes, as well as working with me, is help to create an online portfolio. Basically, stuff where you can showcase your different multimedia pieces of work. They're going to have a nice professional photo for that too, which again, you can use it right here on campus. We do also have bookable interview rooms. So for those of you who are planning to live here on campus or commuting, that's a space that you can use, and you don't need to be running all over the place trying to find somewhere nice and quiet. So potential career paths. As there are 3 different undergraduate majors, I did want to also mention there are 4 undergraduate minors. So there's communication and innovation that is also in partnership with the College of Business, journalism, and mass communication. So there are so many different career paths that are available for all of you. I did want to highlight a few that are commonly discussed when I work with students, when they share things that they're interested in. So content, copy editing, film and video, your traditional journalist or reporter. Sometimes a lot of our students go into law. They might become double majors with political science, marketing, multimedia, photography, PR, production, science writer, or health communication, as well as speech. Something I also wanted to highlight are some of the career industry interest-based clubs and orgs here on campus. So this is a really cool opportunity where you can better know your peers, but also develop and practice those skill sets. So Black World, the Society of Professional Journalists, Photography Club, the TV and Film Club, the Statesman, Stony Brook Press, and WUSB, which is a radio. These are all student-run, student-led, which I think is really exciting, as well as some of our annual events. We do offer several industry-specific job and internship fairs in the fall and the spring semesters. We also have our employer resume review, which I actually ran today from this afternoon. We got to have students interact with some of those professionals that will be at the job fair. That's actually this upcoming Friday, which is really cool for them to get more comfortable networking, but also get some additional feedback. A Young Professionals in Communications and Journalism panel. Last year, I had people that were working at the New York Times, someone in athletic communications, someone in social media influencer. This year, I plan to have a political embed, someone that is doing social media for CBS Sports, and a few other exciting people, as well as employer site visits and panels. Last year, I had the pleasure of bringing a whole bunch of Stony Brook students to Scholastic headquarters in New York City, where they got to learn more about the publishing industry. And we have virtual and in-person panels and events all the time. So this is a time where we'd love to, of course, thank you for attending and open the floor if there are any questions that you may have, whether it comes to the academic side, where Eric can definitely be better to speak about than I can. I can help whenever I can, but of course also related to careers. So you can feel free to write in the chat in the Q&A section, or of course unmute. And
I
just
think
so
I'll
you
also add really quickly where Madeline just if we cycle back for a second and
Yeah.
we show the getting involved on campus piece, you'll note that a lot of your peers and classmates are involved on a level in all of those media groups, where your classmates will be editors of the Statesman, or they'll be doing an internship at USB Radio, or they'll be writing or producing for one of those other media groups. So none of them are necessarily sponsored by School of Communication and Journalism. However, your classmates are all an integral part of those. So there's so many different opportunities for you to branch off, and even if it's not your major, maybe you can do something different within those media groups. So you're really getting yourself a well-rounded education, regardless of what you think you might be one-dimensional, just sort of broadening the scope of what you can do within SOCJ by going into one of those media groups or one of the other clubs or organizations on campus.
Sure. Taking a look at the questions. So Megan, in terms of the medical programs, there are quite a lot of different medical related academic programs that you could pursue here at Stony Brook. And of course, that could also relate to a double major or a minor within the School of Communication and Journalism. We do also have a healthcare, or actually, we're actually getting a second and third healthcare industry career coaches, where you can get additional career guidance in that sense. There's also a science communication graduate program that School of Communication and Journalism offers, which personally I think is so cool because that's a newer field. So it's important to find ways for scientists, researchers to be able to communicate the important things with people like me that science isn't my strong suit. In terms of campus life, there's always so many things happening here on campus. There is campus lifetime that is offered twice a week during the middle of the day, where there's no classes that run during that time. So a lot of times that's where events can play in, whether it is through different clubs and organizations, through the Career Center, or anything along those lines. So students really get to be involved. There's so many clubs and orgs. I think there's like over 200, just kind of awesome. Journalism major, could you do a double with another major or have it as a minor? Definitely you can. That's something that's really special about the School of Communication and Journalism. Like Eric mentioned, there's also the 4+1. So helping you get an MBA in a faster time. The MBA is for business administration. So that's really cool to have that well-rounded. A lot of students I work with commonly will have either like journalism and then a comm minor, or vice versa, or mass comm. But then I also work with students that might have a creative writing or writing and rhetoric or linguistics or business or political science, like I mentioned before.
Well, I'll add too that double major piece I mentioned earlier is just really one of the more common things within School of Communication and Journalism, because it pairs really well with anything else you're really looking to do. And again, making you more well-rounded when you hit the workforce. And I think sometimes students may think of it as daunting and to pick up two majors, but I think it really becomes a matter of looking at your strengths and really figuring out what can play into that, and just realizing that is a communication, or is it, I've seen some odd pairings in my years here, but you'd be surprised what students can really make of it. I was talking to a student last year who was doing journalism and engineering, but it worked for her. So I think it really becomes a matter of what you want to do with yourself as you go on, and seeing if it's possible. One of the phrases I always used to use back in my admissions days was "the world is your oyster," and really just figuring out like what it is you can do, and how you can work within what it is that we can offer you. Is that a matter of talking to the advisors or talking to the faculty members about what is possible? But just knowing that, again, that dual major is really a great option for students, and knowing that it might not be as taxing as you think it is.
Mhm.
Next question here is how close is campus to the city? And I'll answer that from the logistical standpoint, which is just about 60 miles. But for Eric and Madeline, what does that mean for your students?
So Stony Brook is definitely a large commuter campus. There are plenty of students that do commute back and forth between the city and other areas on Long Island. I don't think anyone commutes from other states, but who knows? In terms of that, there are plenty of times where the Career Center does do employer site visits or info sessions where we will bring buses and bring students into the city. Sometimes there are events that I go to and Stony Brook students meet me there. There is a train station here on campus. It's like a super quick walk that'll bring you right in. So that is super convenient.
When I think of the city for our students, I think of opportunity. I think of just New York City being so close, and New York City being opportunistic for you for that internship, or for job perspective. There's a student that works very closely with Madeline and I who did an internship at NBC4 last summer and was written up in the Post about it. So there are so many opportunities for, I mean, we all, New York City being the biggest city, right? I mean, it has opportunity all over it, but especially for these majors that have so many different ways you can go just looking at the city and really just picking a corner of it and saying that's an opportunity for me to go find something and work with Madeline to see what it is that you can find within New York City. If that's a place you want to go, if, can you maybe do an internship on the weekends, or is it something you can work with over the summer? And just realizing that it is there for you to, really take advantage of. And that's one of the things where we're not that far away from the city, where Megan said 60 miles. That's not that far of a distance when you consider the train station is literally just a walk over near the football field. And that's really the easiest way to get in. So it is there and it is accessible for our students, and really opportunity is the biggest word I'd use when I think about the city for our students.
So the next question, oh, sorry, Madeline,
No,
go for
you're
it.
fine. You're good.
So the next question I see here, so the mass communication major is a BS. What is that, or how does that differ from the BA?
It's really just a matter of the courses that you're taking within it, and the BS having more practical of the science application, where the BA is a Bachelor of Arts and it's gonna be more of the liberal artsy kind of feel. It really becomes a matter of when you're working with the advisors as to which path it is you're directly taking. I will say advising is such a huge part of what we do within the School of Communication and Journalism. Our advisors are very hands-on with the students, where they will really sit down with you and make sure you're going through your degree path to make sure you're on that right pathway. I will say, it's a lot of it's self-advocacy too, to make sure you're not falling behind in where you need to be and you're not showing up as a senior saying, I have 6 classes I need. But that being said, the advisors know the degree paths. The advisors will know what it is you need and the pathway you need to take. So, are you on the right pathway? Do you need to sort of divert to a different way? Is this not your strong suit, or do you need to withdraw from a class and sort of go a different way? Knowing that we are here to help you. And as Madeline said earlier, there is a student services suite, and we're located on the 4th floor of the Melville Library. That's where we live. That's where the student services suite is. That's where the advisor lives. That's where we are all here to help and service you. So just being in contact with us about those career pathways, I think a lot of it too is, as you go through, it's just outreaching to us as those of us who are within the school, doing the visits to the school, seeing what the school is all about, talking to us when you're there. Maybe we can get you in touch with a faculty member or another current student, just so you can hear it from them of, is the BS really the way you want to go? What kind of contacts do we have for you to make sure you're making the best choice for yourself?
Great. And so how emphasized is mathematics and journalism and communications? So this student has seen pre-calculus or statistics as a recommended course that they've taken during high school. Is that something that you want the students to take for consideration, or when they're here at Stony Brook?
I'll defer that to the admissions piece for a second, if you just want to chime in.
Yeah,
as to
no,
what
absolutely.
The university's looking at first, and then.
Yeah, so as a whole, we require students to meet their graduation requirements of their state. So for specifically School of Communication and Journalism, no, we don't have a hard and fast minimum for mathematics requirements. With that said, if something like pre-calculus or statistics is of interest to you, we certainly encourage you to explore that. We do take into account the math classes that you take during high school, but as far as a requirement, no, that is not necessary on the admissions end.
I'd say from, if anything, it gives you a good background for if you want to do something. We do have a nice emphasis on social science research. So if that's something you want to do, I think those math skills will come into play if you're taking something like a statistics course or something like that. It's not necessarily going to be the focus of either of any of your degrees, but that, it can play into it. If anything, it gives you that good foundational knowledge going into what we do.
All right, so our next question here. Are students admitted directly into the major, or do they take general courses first and then apply to the major later? We can talk about, I guess, the transfer process or the undecided to SOCJ process.
Yes, just, I mean, again, the admissions piece playing into that a little bit where students are admitted into their major. Students can also transfer into the major as well. Students at Stony Brook will take SBCs, which essentially are like Stony Brook core classes. A lot of our core classes, this is an interesting little point, but a lot of our core classes, we teach some SBCs among, so students in different majors will take our SBCs. So they're getting exposed to the School of Communication and Journalism. So we actually do have students transfer in for other majors just because they're exposed to some of our faculty members through those SBCs. And a lot of our classes, like our Communication 101 class, will take care of SBCs as well. So there's a lot of intermingling, if you will, of that. But we do get students who are transferring in from different majors. Maybe it's not a great fit. Maybe a student is X major. I don't want to throw any major specifically out there. And it's just not working, but they feel strongly about one way and they want to transfer majors. It happens all the time within any institution. But we try and make the process as really seamless as possible. Again, I do work within the student services suite, and there are students who are coming in and they're saying, look, my major isn't working for me, but I have an interest in journalism. How do I do that? So we walk you through that step process about picking up journalism as a major or whatever it is, mass communication or communication as a major. But I think as a whole, we try and make life a little bit, easier for students and really just trying to find the best fit. But as an incoming freshman student, you are, as long as you're indicating it on your application, accepted into that major.
So Dan, to answer your question, yes to both. Students can be accepted directly into the major, or you can take general classes and then apply to the major afterwards. For Eric mentioned, there are some students who just realize a little bit later that they want something within SOCJ. Some students might not have even known it existed prior to attending the university. So absolutely, you can go either direction there. Next question here is, are there any study abroad programs? Short answer, yes, certainly. We do have plenty of study abroad programs that our Stony Brook students can utilize, and we encourage them to do so. I don't know if you have any stories of your students who have studied abroad during their time.
I can jump in there.
Yeah.
There is what's called special topics courses. So for example, one that's running right now is, I know, sports reporting, but there is one that is brand new. It is about international reporting. So there's been done before. There's part of the School of Communication and Journalism that's kind of like a adjacent part, but definitely part of it, called the Marie Coleman Center, where it's all focused on international reporting. There is funding that is helping, I believe it's 10 Stony Brook students. It's paying for their academic course this semester, and then at the end they're going to Stockholm, Sweden for, I believe it's 2 weeks, to get to do in the field, on the ground reporting. So it's pretty awesome getting to see them applying what they're learning to the actual program. There are students that will be juniors the next year, but there's also some students that are graduating that are also still taking part in this opportunity.
And just anecdotally, we did have students within that program. They were in Nepal last year. And this Stockholm, Sweden one is available for, I believe it's a couple years. The funding runs for a couple years on that one specifically. So great opportunity. I believe you can also find at least one of those reporting stories on the Stony Brook Media site that I put up before as well. Those students do some great reporting with the faculty member that is out there with them. And it's really just an opportunity you're not necessarily getting, obviously here on the campus, where you're actually going out and you have this story that you're working on collectively, and bringing it back. And the students do absolutely wonderful work with what they're reporting on, and the collaboration with the faculty member when they're there is really second to none.
So Lisa's question here, if your major is currently undecided, do you need to decide before you enroll? And the answer is no. If you were admitted as an undecided student, you were admitted as an undecided student. You do not need to declare prior to enrolling at the university. If you have not yet submitted an application, if you're a prospective student that's kind of undecided and you're waiting to submit the application until it opens in August, if you're a current junior of this year, then you have some time to think about things. And if you know at this point that SOCJ is something that's of interest to you, we certainly recommend applying for that if that's something you already know. But don't worry, you have plenty of time with that. And it looks like the last question we have here is, we have a student who would be coming in as a transfer from another SUNY as a comm major. Are the requirements similar to what might they have at their current institution?
That is a fantastic question. I will be very honest in saying I don't know how everything transfers over specifically because I'm not directly on that advising piece. I'll just go back to what I said before that we do, again, I work very closely with the advisor here within SOCJ, and I know that and I've spoken to transfer students who have come through our doors a lot. And I say, look, make sure you are sitting down with the advisor ahead because we want to make sure, especially if you have communication with us in contact, that you are not going to get lost. You're not going to fall through. I did speak to one of our students who did not have contact with one of our advisors and she ended up retaking a course. I think the goal there would be not to have that happen. Reach out to us. I mean, I think one of the things that doesn't get taken advantage of enough is really just reaching out to folks within the individual schools within those institutions that you're looking at and making the outreach and saying, look, how can you help me? Because we are here to help everybody. And we have contacts throughout and we'll get you in touch with the right people. If it's if I need to reach out to Megan in admissions or somebody else in the advising section, or do we connect you with Madeline? And we all work together to make sure it's as easy as it can be for you so you have the best experience. I would love to say that SUNYs are all similar. I just can't speak specifically to if you took X course at your institution, is it going to transfer over the same with us? Given the curriculum layout, that's really something for the advisors to go through specifically. But that all happens during the transfer process too.
And with that said, if you are currently at another SUNY or another institution that we receive a number of transfer students from, if you go online to our transfer equivalency database, you can see how your courses will likely transfer in. So to Eric's point, they are officially evaluated once you matriculate to the university, but you can get a feel for how they will transfer in at this point as early as we're at this cycle here. So it looks like that is all of the questions that are in the chat here. If anybody has any last minute things, please feel free to pop them in. Otherwise, Eric and Madeline, do you have any closing notes?
I don't specifically. I would just one of the big things I'll trust too is for anybody, if you're an accepted student and you're thinking about Stony Brook, be sure you're coming out to the events that are coming up that you're going to get information about. If you're a prospective student, be sure you're coming out to visit us because Madeline and I are readily accessible on campus, and we'd love to meet you. If you just give us a heads up through the admissions office that you're coming, and we can connect with you when you're on campus, just to give us a 2-second hello, how you doing, show you what we have on campus. Because that really means a lot for us, but it also means a lot for you as a student just to have that connection when you come in, to have that familiar face. And for us, it's getting to know our student base that much more, and it just makes SOCJ that much more of a special place to be.
I think my last comments would be, although Stony Brook is a rather large school, I think it's really special that the School of Communication and Journalism is a little bit more intimate, for lack of a better term, but we are actively and happily growing. So you do really have those awesome opportunities to form really strong relationships with your faculty, staff, people like myself and Eric. The students that I get to work with are honestly phenomenal. There's so much hands-on learning that we get to speak about together to help them better prepare themselves for those jobs and internships. And I think it's a really awesome program. I wish that I went here for undergrad.
And I know Eric already mentioned coming to visit, but shameless plug, we would love to have you here on campus. Whether you are a prospective student or an admitted student, there are plenty of visit opportunities coming up. So I put a link in the chat for our upcoming visit opportunities. We have a number of virtual programs. So I know we did have some generic questions about admission. So we do have some virtual information sessions. We have on-campus tours. We have transfer-specific tours. There's plenty of opportunities for you to come and see campus for yourself. So we'd love to have you. Thank you all so much for joining us and for spending part of your evening with us. Eric and Madeline, thank you for sharing some of your expertise. And
Thank
all of
you.
our students, we hope to welcome you to campus soon. Have a great night,
Thank you, everyone.
everybody.